there's a selection where they can choose if they'd like to be surprised by the final product or if they would like some input along the way. I've done it both ways. If folks are wanting input into the lyrics, we can send them drafts of the lyrics and then kind of go back and forth with them to make sure that it really is articulating accurately their family culture and their vision for their family, creating the legacy that we want it to have for them. And then, of course, also with the musical side of things too. If they've got input there, we welcome that.
Welcome to the Inheritance of Hope podcast. Every day, 562 children lose a parent to terminal illness. They shouldn't have to face that alone. You can pretend to avoid the painful realities of illness, grief, and death, or you can deal with the real stuff in caring community. On the podcast, people in Inheritance of Hope's community share raw, personal stories of pain, trials, and the shadow of death, which are also stories of joy in terminal illness. Find more Inheritance of Hope community at inheritanceofhope.org. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Inheritance of Hope podcast. I'm Ellie, your host, and today we will be unpacking our Legacy Song service, which is a newer offering that Inheritance of Hope has started. And so it might feel ambiguous to some people. What does it entail? How do you sign up? So we have a Legacy Song artist on this episode today to walk us through the whole process. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ellie. My name is Isaac, and I'm a pastor in Minnesota, and I largely work with musicians and the worship ministry at my church. So I recruit musicians and coach and train them and plan sets for them to lead and then kind of handle some of the tech side of that as well. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, and just got connected with you with Inheritance of Hope this last year, and I've loved getting to be a part of the Legacy Song process.
We're glad to have you on the team. What is a legacy song?
It's really well named. I like to think of it as just a platform for sharing people's stories. A lot of times the hard parts of people's stories, but also celebrating some of the really cool aspects of people's stories too. And then, of course, as a song, it gets to live on past this moment in their story. So it's really about telling their story from the moment in time that we create it, but with the hope that it would stand for years to come and kind of have a legacy, as it's as it's titled, something you could look back on to just remember sort of how that moment felt and the moments leading up to that moment in time, and just sort of celebrating where these folks have been and where they're going. So the first step in the process, whoever's kind of having the song made for them fill out a questionnaire. That questionnaire has questions ranging all the way from just demographic information about their family to kind of opportunities to share stories about things that their family has gone through, things that they love about their family, but also just values that their family has, things that sort of characterize their family in a really unique way, like what sets them apart from the other millions of people here on this earth. And as a legacy song creator, it's my goal as I read those answers to really just get a picture of who this family is and be able to just sort of get like a snapshot into their lives, but also just grasp some of those intangibles about their family too. The uniqueness of their family, and of, especially if there's a specific person that it's being written about too, the uniqueness of that person. Just coming from my worldview, believing that every single person has unique dignity and has been made in a really special and unique way. It's my goal to just try to discern that as I read through their responses to the questionnaire. And then from that point, we use different tech platforms, different AI tools to sort of craft some lyrics that will kind of outline. Usually what I'm typically trying to do is to capture their story and the values and kind of tell the story through lyrics, which are a really unique rhetorical device, because it's not like a narrative story where you can just say, on this date they did this, on this date they did that. You're using poetry, which is just a unique tool for telling a story. So partnering with those tools to try to sort of articulate story from beginning to end, and then have some sort of, I like to think of having a thesis, and the thesis be just articulating, pinpointing as much as we can that person or that value, and sort of having that be the centering like thesis statement of their life and story. Now, obviously, like nobody's life can be summed up with one single thesis. That's the uniqueness of a song, is that we do try to capture that one thing and just pronounce it in the lyrics. So then once the lyrics are done, we take it from lyric to song, and we use a different AI tool for doing that. And from that point, it's really about capturing what only melody can capture, what only harmony and rhythm can capture. We try to respect people's like musical tastes as well, and try to have the vibe of the song fit what that person or that family would like to hear too. So that's sort of just like big picture, beginning to end. I'm trying to just articulate what is unique about this person and what does their story have an opportunity to say that maybe nobody else's story does. And that comes through different moments and different values, and different things about them.
And who can have a legacy song made for their family?
A lot of the population that's being served by Inheritance of Hope is for people who are facing terminal illness. But of course, anyone can have a legacy song made for them. And it's always an honor to celebrate people's story, regardless of what's a part of that story.
Yeah, legacy songs, legacy videos, and making a will for free are three of our services that Inheritance of Hope offers that are accessible to anybody. So if you are familiar with Inheritance of Hope and maybe your family isn't eligible to go on a retreat, or you don't maybe fit in that niche population, definitely check out Legacy Songs. This service is for you. So as someone is registering for this, what kind of questions can they expect on the intake form? And then you being the artist crafting those words into a song, what are you looking for? What would be helpful for them to communicate and share in order for you to know who they are and what's valuable to them?
So I'll answer that in sort of two parts, starting with the questions. Some of the questions that are coming to mind is which members of the family are people wanting included in the song, just kind of building out the world of the people of the song, and then asking about their personalities, their roles that they play kind of within the family, and just how they kind of contribute to the culture of their family. Then there's questions about holidays and traditions. There's questions about favorite moments in the story of their family. And then there's questions about key phrases or verses or sort of things that have sort of grounded the value system within their family, as well as just what music they like to listen to, which is, of course, really relevant. And so for me, as I'm digesting that information, what's always most helpful for me is when I'm given more information rather than less, and especially stories that I can draw upon. So if someone's listening to this and they're wondering, how much should I say in one of these responses? I guess just say as much as you think to. And the more information there, that the more helpful it is, that the more I have to kind of reference. And the more it helps me kind of put my mind into their world and just kind of empathize with where they're at.
You mentioned we can kind of cater to different people's musical tastes, and maybe you're having this
Yeah.
song made for your grandpa who loved old-timey country music. Talk to us about that personalization that we can do.
Most genres are on the table. And that's one of the benefits of partnering with different tools is it enables us to really accomplish a broad range of sounds. We've used like country songs, we've used like big band old time songs, or sort of more like modern hip hop or like subdued indie sounds too. So there's all sorts of genres and styles that we can pursue, even choosing what we want the main voice to sound like. The tools that enable us to, I think, personalize to a much greater degree than if we weren't using tools like we are.
And then you having a musical background and being a worship pastor and
Yeah.
being able to integrate your skills into something like this. What does that process look like?
I found it to be really organic, especially on the lyrical side of things. I'll usually generate using some sort of AI tool an initial set of lyrics, but then often what I do is I put that in like a pages document, and then I'm making all sorts of edits. So I find that some of the couplets that are written are really beautiful, and other ones I really don't like that much. And so sometimes I'll write a few lyrics from scratch, or sometimes I'll just change lyrics, or sometimes just making sure that the song really captures, I guess, the description that I have in my mind for a person. It's a back and forth process. So it goes through a few iterations, And then when we get to the musical side of things, that's where my love for music really can come out too. Usually what I'll do is I'll generate something and then I'll take a look at that. And there's lots of sorts of ways that we can do little edits of that, or regenerations of different components or parts of the songs to really accomplish the feel that we want. I think sometimes the danger of being overly reliant on different tech systems is it takes the human creativity out of it. But I've really found it to be an organic process as I get to operate within my discernment to say that does accomplish the sound that I want or it does not, and then to go from there. So I really have really enjoyed like a slightly different take on the musical creativity that I'm getting to operate with in my job.
So, once someone fills out the intake form, is that the last time that they're giving you information and input, or do they have a say in the process at all?
Great question. There's a selection where they can choose if they'd like to be surprised by the final product or if they would like some input along the way. I've done it both ways. If folks are wanting input into the lyrics, we can send them drafts of the lyrics and then kind of go back and forth with them to make sure that it really is articulating accurately their family culture and their vision for their family and creating the legacy that we want it to have for them. And then, of course, also with the musical side of things too. If they've got input there, we welcome that. So folks are allowed to have as much input or as little input as they would like.
What is a song that you've worked on that was just very impactful for you as the artist being honored to get to craft a song for them? And yeah, how has that stayed with you?
There was a specific song that I worked on that was for a family with a young dad who had young boys, young sons, and that's the stage of life that I'm in. And as I was just reading, he's facing some terminal illness, and just reading about that moment that he's going through, I just felt like I could just relate to it all the more. Obviously, not because that's what I'm going through, but just because of the stage of life that he's in and sort of the world that he was in. And just reading the stories that were in the form about his life and how he and his wife came to meet each other and some of the values that their family had and the way that he's loving and they've loved the season of life with young boys and just kind of looking forward to what it might look like if he is or isn't in their lives in different seasons in the future. It just connected with my heart in in a really heavy way. I felt the weight of stewarding that story into a song. It was a really emotional process for me, which it was in a lot of ways a gift for me because I'm not getting to meet most of these people in real life, and so there could be a temptation to be really disengaged from the process, or there could be a tendency towards it just being knocking out tasks on my computer at home. But it just was so embodied because I was just really able to connect with the story. That doesn't happen every single time, but having those moments along the way reminds me that each of these songs represents somebody's life and a story that has a lot of power if it's given power. And so in some ways it raised the gravity of what I'm getting to do by just recognizing the power of giving life to somebody's story in a new way through a song. Yeah.
I remember that song specifically too, because I think everyone on the team who engaged with it in any capacity was really touched by it emotionally. And we were able to gift them that song right in the last week or two of his life. And so
Yeah.
they were able to listen to it as a family, and his wife shared it on Facebook a few days after he ended up passing away, and there were just hundreds of comments getting comfort from that song. And we create a video with each song with the family's pictures and the lyrics, and so you get almost this just video slideshow of this family's life, and hundreds of people resonated with it and just found comfort in this gift. So obviously the immediate family, but just being able to capture a glimpse of this man's big, beautiful life and his family's impact, that was a really cool impact story for me as well. I know our whole staff and team was really moved by
Yeah.
that one.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
And I want to read another quote that I have. This was a family that we served last year with a legacy song, and it's another dad with young kids who has a terminal tumor. And I'm just going to read the email that the wife sent me. She said, "I'm just so blown away. I'm not sure I have the words, but I will try. This song and video is such an incredible gift to our family. We laugh and cry every time we listen to it. You all have perfectly captured our family at present, and we can't thank you enough. We are living with the earth-shattering reality that our children may not have their own memories of their dad. And this video is something I hope they can watch for years to come to learn what an incredible person their dad is and how much he loves us." So this is obviously a gift that anybody can take advantage of. I do also want to say that it is offered at no cost to families. So we have donors who generously cover any cost associated with it so that anybody who wants to be intentional with their legacy and have this gift crafted for them can do so by just registering on the Inheritance of Hope website. And then you have someone like Isaac or a number of our artists to take it from there and who are really honored to hold that story and turn it into something almost tangible that you can listen to. And we have it on Spotify, Apple Music. We create a video and put it on YouTube so you can listen to it. You can play it through your speakers. And it's a gift that keeps on giving. So please visit the Inheritance of Hope website and look for legacy songs and get that started because we would love to craft that for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Isaac, anything else that I might have missed or that you want to make sure that the people listening to this episode know about legacy songs?
I guess I'll just say, even as one of the artists who gets to work on these songs, I commend those who choose to engage in this, take some courage and vulnerability to even step out and have something like this made and just share parts of your story. Even though you're not having to do it in person with me, I feel the vulnerability even reading their answers. So I guess just well done and kudos to the folks who choose to do that, especially in the midst of a hard season, as a lot of these folks are in when they're having these made. It's an honor, and I'm privileged to get to be a part of your stories.
Thank you so much, Isaac, for sharing a bit about yourself and how you integrate and embody this process to make legacy songs possible.
Thanks for having me on, and thanks for all your work as well.
Thank you.